Some years ago, our church built a multi-million-dollar brand new facility on 5 acres of land. However, when it came to move into the building, it wasn't quite finished yet. We'd settled and handed over our current church building at the time to the new owners, another church that had bought our building. And we had a 6-week gap in between leaving our old building and moving into our new building. And it was the middle of winter. We tried to kind of do some kind of renting back, leasing back some space for that 6 weeks from the new church, but they had moved in and it was all too late. So for 6 weeks in the middle of winter, we couldn't have a Sunday morning service. We leased a building, another church building, for Sunday afternoon services. And Sunday night, we're in a completely different building, an Anglican chapel, for our Sunday night evening services. And you know what attendance did? It plummeted. People just stopped turning up for 6 weeks. It was cold, it was wet, it was windy. They thought Sunday afternoon, I don't know about Sunday evening in this chapel, and parking was hard and difficult. It's all new. I think some people just said, I'm going to have a break for 6 weeks. I'll turn up at the new building. And my goodness, they did turn up for the first Sunday at the new building. But you know what happened to our money during that time? You talk about an economic downturn. Our finances just went down. Now, we had plenty of money in our building fund, so the mortgage on the new property was well and truly covered, but we didn't have enough in the bank to get us through an entire week of expenses, of normal weekly expenses. So my goodness, it was a tough time. And I think you have to learn how to manage your church finances during an economic downturn that may be caused by the general economy, a cost of living crisis, or it may be caused by an unforeseen circumstance that you hadn't planned on, or suddenly a massive bill, the roof on your building leaks everywhere and you have to spend thousands of dollars to get it fixed. How do you manage your church finances during that time? So I'm going to give you a few ideas. I got 6 ways for you to handle this sort of a crisis, this sort of a challenge. So the very first thing is to actually go and adjust your budget. And that can mean tightening up expenditure. And we've done that over our 30 years of pastoring. There are different times we just lowered our expenditure. I would say to staff, don't spend money at the moment. We'll just make sure we can pay the salaries, pay all the bills that we know are going to come regardless. But any sort of spending that you had in mind, just hold off on it while we go through this season. Of course, we'd always emerge out of it. I remember back in the 1980s when I was an associate pastor at our church and the recession hit, just terrible economic downturn, and finances and income plummeted for many people, including our church, and we had to lay staff off. And I remember the pain of that time and thinking, gee, I never want to go through that again. That sort of level of adjustment is mammoth and huge, and sometimes you have to adjust at that level, but you want to do everything to avoid that. The second way to manage your church finances during a downturn is to make sure that you're doing I call them financial snapshots for your church. Every 3 to 4 months, just get up and do a little brief summary of how the church finances are running. Now, I know some churches put their weekly income and expenses or their weekly giving into the church newsletter. It's a fairly common sort of traditional practice in a lot of churches, but you know, where newsletters have gone in recent times, they don't exist to a great degree anymore in our churches. So I think about every 4 months, get up and just give the church an overview. This is what the income's been. This is where we're spending it. Here's the results, and this is what you want to focus on. Here are the results of your giving. Because you give, we're able to do this project. We're able to pay these expenses. We're able to keep working in this school or that church plant, whatever it is. Give people a financial snapshot. You know why? Because before people will trust you with their money, there's 2 steps they have to take first. The first one is they need to know you. And when you do a financial snapshot, they discover you, but not just you, the pastor or the treasurer or the business manager presenting the snapshot. They begin to know their church in a better way, and then they begin to like their church. So before people trust anyone, they have to know them. And secondly, they have to like them. Financial snapshots increase transparency, build confidence, enabling people to know you, to like what you're doing, and then to trust you with their finances. Consider it every twice a year, maybe 3 times a year, a financial snapshot for your church. Third way to manage church finances during economic downturns is review your giving pathways. I sat with a pastor recently and talking about managing church finances, and I said to him, let's have a look how people give in your church. And we pulled up his website on my phone. I went to the giving page. We scrolled through it, and it was quite good. It had the church bank account there that people could donate to. There was an aspect there they could give cash on Sundays, and there was credit card giving online. And they also mentioned their preferred option was a straight bank transfer because no fees involved and was easier to manage. However, it's interesting with the credit card button, it was quite hard to read the button. The colors didn't quite work, and I pointed that out to him. I also asked him, I said, do you tell your new people how to give in your church? He says, no, we don't talk about giving at all in our new people's pathway. When people come to a new people's gathering to find out more about the church, we don't talk about giving at all. I said, well, I think what I would do is just show people on your phone and on their phones how they can give. You can talk and encourage them to give, but at least show them that the option is there and that you want them to be giving into the life of the church. Don't avoid it out of fear. Don't avoid it out of uncertainty that you'll put people off. Expect that people come to a new people's connection point wanting to know how to support the church. Take that position rather than, oh, I don't want to scare them off position. Fear is not the basis of advancing the kingdom or building the church. The fourth way to manage your church finances, and this is a way that you only do in an absolute emergency crisis when you have no other option, is take up an emergency offering. Take up a special offering where you say to the church, we're going to be in dire straits if we don't increase our income. Now, it's a bit different if you decide to do a 3-week series on managing your money and you include giving in that. That's okay. That's not a break glass in case of emergency deal. But if you stand up and say, we need an emergency offering to get through this crisis, then remember this. You should only do that once about every 7 to 10 years, I reckon. Because as soon as you pull that lever, you cannot keep pulling it every year, every 6 months, every 18 months, 2 years. Pull that lever once when you absolutely desperately need to do it. I personally would rather go to heaps of prayer and fasting before I pulled that lever, because I know once I pulled it, that's it for a decade. Because if you keep pulling the lever of we need an emergency offering, people will not trust your money management. They will know you, they'll like you, and they'll go, these guys don't know how to manage money. I've been giving faithfully for years, and why are they in this crisis? Again, once you build that reputation, very hard to get rid of it. So don't pull that lever quickly. Fifth way to manage money, church finances during the economic downturn, is get some help. There's a quiz in the description below about how to raise more money. A 3-minute quiz. Take that quiz. That will really help you get your head around some things related to finances, and you'll be able to jump into the resources we've got in Grow a Healthy Church, including the Hub has a roadmap on how to grow your church finances. So get some help. Use the quiz to ascertain the resources that are available to you, and get some help as you journey through the process of managing your church finances during an economic downturn. Now, number 6, last one, is learn the lesson out of this season of challenge financially, out of this difficult time. Learn the lesson that building cash reserves is a vital principle in managing your church finances in a sustainable long-term way. I'm a huge fan that churches have 3 months expenses in the bank at all times, that they have not just an emergency fund they have to dip into, but they have cash reserves of 3 months. You know what that 3 months gives you when you hit a crisis? It buys you time. So rather than a week by week, oh my goodness, we have a crisis, what are we going to do this week? You can go, oh, wow, we do have a large build now on our roofing of our church facility, or we want to take an opportunity to launch some project that's come across our path that we didn't expect. If you have 3 months cash reserves, then you've got time to think, how are we going to do this? How are we going to manage this? Maybe we could do a special offering for this project. Maybe we could use some of our cash reserves. We know we can build it up again over the next 3 to 4 months, but cash reserves buy you time. Now, I want to encourage you as you manage your church finances, take the Raise More Money quiz, discover that link, get into that quiz, find all the resources that we have for you on our website, but also resources that we have for you in the hub on raising more money for your church. God bless you.